The Mukasa Tafsir.
Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end? Pursuing the higher aim, learning the meaning of every page. Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end?
Another addition to your Islamic education, Maqasid Tafsir, Healing and Governance, The Transformative Path of Sabah As-Tiwal, written by Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid. Join Ustada Laila Nasheeba every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m., streaming all major platforms, channel SunnahFollowers. Sunnah Ibrahim, planting the tree of Tawheed, a Maqasid insight by Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid. Join us on Saturdays and Sundays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Ustada Laila Nasheeba, streaming on all major platforms, channel SunnahFollowers. SunnahFollowers presents a new hadith class taught by Ustada Laila Nasheeba, Riyadhus Saliheen, every Monday and Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there, streaming on all major platforms, channel SunnahFollowers.
Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I want to welcome everybody to our hadith class. This is our Riyadhus Saliheen hadith class. And this is based on the book written by Imam Nawawi, The Righteous Garden. And tonight we're going to be covering two chapters of the book. And for those of you who are not watching me on YouTube, please open up a tab on your cell phone to the YouTube and go to my YouTube channel, SunnahFollowers, all one word, and click on the live stream. So that way you can see the PowerPoint that I will be placing up in the background. And for those of you who are new to watching me, I am Ustada Laila Nasheeba. I am an Islamic educator. I am not here to play. I am not here to chat. Okay? I have been teaching Islam for over 50 years. So do not allow the looks to deceive you. Okay? I am a bona fide, qualified Islamic teacher. So, open up a tab on YouTube to my channel so you can see what I'm getting ready to post up. Okay, and for the new shahadas that are with us from my Reddit group and the new shahadas that are joining me from Facebook, walaikum salam for the new shahadas on the new shahada group and also from my Reddit group. The question that Brother Bilal sent me. Brother Bilal, I did read your email earlier today, and it's amazing because the question that you asked me about earlier today is going to be addressed in two of the hadiths that we're going to review in tonight's lecture. Okay? So I want everyone to pay attention. And you feel free to take screenshots of the PowerPoints. So that way you can print them out at the end of the class and you can staple them together and you can review these hadiths with the explanation that I include, okay? So let me share my screen so you can see the PowerPoints and the book. If you are interested in purchasing the entire collection of Riyadhus Saliheen, I recommend you can buy the whole collection of these books online from Darul Islam Bookstore. They have a Darul Islam Bookstore online that you can purchase them from. And that's how the collection would look if you bought them from Darul Islam. Okay. And also, I highly recommend that every Muslim library should include the entire collection of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Those are the two collections of hadiths that every Islamic library should include, because 85% of the knowledge of Islam you can find in Sahih Bukhari alone. And that's the most authentic collection of books on the planet after the Quran. And you can get the other 20% out of Muslim. Okay? So you should definitely order. You can get the entire collection of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim from Darul Islam bookstore as well, because all the hadiths that I will be referencing tonight, the sources are Bukhari and Muslim. And I want to remind everyone that Riyadhus Saliheen, I repeat, Riyadhus Saliheen is not, or never should be used as a source of hadith. Does everybody understand that? Riyadhus Saliheen is not and should never, ever, ever be used as a source of hadith. If you ever use it as a source, you're showing that you're not intelligent of the religion. And also, not all the hadiths, I repeat, not all the hadiths, I repeat again, not all the hadiths in Riyadhus Saliheen are authentic either, but all the hadiths in Bukhari are, and all the hadiths in Muslim are too. However, some of the hadiths in Muslim have been abrogated, and that's the problem. A lot of you may quote a hadith from Sahih Muslim that has been abrogated. You need to know what the abrogated hadiths are. That's a different topic. All right, so tonight we're still looking at the hadiths from Riyadhus Saliheen that are in the topic of miscellaneous issues, and we'll be covering chapters 28 and 29, which address the importance of covering the faults of other Muslims and helping other Muslims. These are both two issues that many Muslims today have deviated away from. We need to focus on covering the faults of other Muslims more and helping other Muslims. So let's take a look at the hadiths that address these two topics. Okay? And of course, what makes Imam Nawawi's book so great is the fact that he gets maqasid with it. He always starts off with verses of the Quran that relate to whatever the objective is, okay? Look at this verse from the 24th chapter of the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, verily those who like that the crime, because that's what it is, it's a crime. Whenever we commit a sin in Islam, we're actually committing a crime. And if we Muslims would look at our sins for what they are really crimes. If you would view your actions of disobedience as crimes against yourself, then it would cause you to think twice before you commit them. Well, listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Verily, those who like for the crime of illegal sexual intercourse to be propagated amongst those who believe, they will have a painful punishment in this world and in the hereafter. And we Muslims living in 2025, we really need to pay attention to that verse, because we're living in the days of fitan. The greater signs of the last hour are already happening. We're at the war against Islam now. And we have sexual intercourse being prevalent amongst us. Fornication, adultery has become the norm. And Muslims commit fornication. Muslims commit adultery like it's nothing. And we don't care. You have Muslims walking around with girlfriends, boyfriends. We have all these social media apps. You have Facebook. You have YouTube. You got Instagram. You got TikTok. And what do the Muslims use these platforms for? WhatsApp. They use them to pick up women, to pick up men. You got Muslim women dating dudes off these programs, hooking up with men. You got Muslim men hooking up with women, having sex and all this. You got married men and married women using TikTok and all these social media apps to have relationships outside of marriage. That's illegal sexual relations. Okay? Well, Allah is saying those who like that this be committed amongst the believers, you're going to have a painful punishment, not just in this world, but also in the hereafter. It's going to eventually catch up with you. When you sit on the internet, private messaging women, and you marry, and you're not married to that woman, that's a form of adultery. Even though you're not having sex with this sister, you still talking to her. That's haram. We don't talk to women who are not mahrams to you. You don't talk to men who are not mahrams to you unless it's business related. We don't have no trivial talks with each other. You're committing adultery, adultery of the hands, adultery of the fingers, adultery of the eyes, the tongue. And when you in the grave and on the day of judgment, your hands, your tongue, your eyes, your nose, all of that's going to testify against you. And Allah is telling you, you're going to be punished for that in this world. Why is it that so many bad things are happening to us in our personal lives? How many women are you chatting with on TikTok who are not your wife? How many men are you messaging and it's not business related? How many men are you messaging and having relationships with on TikTok? That's why your life is miserable. That's why you can't find a husband. That's why you can't find a good one. Water seeks its own level, and what goes around comes around. You chatting with some other woman's husband. You're committing adultery of the fingers, adultery of the tongue, adultery of the eyes with another woman's man. Well, that's why you can't find a good man of your own, because what goes around comes around. You are not happy in your marriage with your 2, 3, 4 wives because you're cheating on them with your fingers, your tongue, your eyes, with nasty women on the internet. That's why you're miserable in your marriage. Even though you got 2, 3, 4 wives, you unhappy with them. They don't love you. They don't respect you because you're not worthy of that, because you're messing with filthy women on the internet. What goes around comes around. They call it, the Kafirs call it karma. We call it the wrath of Allah. We call it payback from Allah. Because again, Allah says you will have a painful punishment in this world. Whenever we disobey Allah, Allah tells us in another verse of the Quran, He will punish us twice. He will punish us twice, once in this world and in the hereafter. You think Allah doesn't see what we do? You think Allah is not going to make you pay for the harm that you're doing to others? You're hurting your wives. You're hurting your husbands. You're hurting your children because you can't control your filthy desires. You can't control the evil nature of your soul. You can't control the filthy desires in your heart. Think about it, brothers and sisters. And it's not like those things can't be controlled, because our prophet taught us what to do to control the soul. He taught us what to do to keep the heart's evil emotions at bay. It's just that we don't want to take the medicine because we want to be evil. Man loves to be evil. Okay? And then we got people, other people. We call them the haram police. Like I talked about in my Islam Q&A show. And by the way, guys, I did put out the shorts from my Islam Q&A show. I just uploaded them. Please feel free to share them. We spoke about nasiha. What is the meaning of the word, this Arabic word, nasiha? Nasiha is an Arabic word that refers to giving advice, advising one another. But see, the problem with Muslims today is, like the Prophet said, we're not educated. We're not as intelligent as the Christians are. It's like we have dyslexia. We think that giving advice means to critique each other. You meet a brother for the first time. We give salams. Assalamu alaikum, Aki. Kayfalik, how are you? And then we start tearing each other down. Oh, let me give you some advice. The brother doesn't even ask for it. Oh, let me give you some advice. Oh, I think your beard needs to be trimmed. I think this. We start immediately tearing into each other, looking for faults, and start critiquing each other, tearing each other down. When our Prophet Muhammad taught us to look to see the good in each other, try to look to see the good in each other and encourage each other to do good, help one another in righteousness, as Allah says, help one another in goodness. But instead, we do the opposite because we are people that got dyslexia. We think giving advice means to offer our opinion and start demeaning each other. So you see me doing something that in your opinion is bad, you're going to tear me down. So you see me, for example, digging in my nose. Let's say that you see that I got a bad habit. I like to dig in my nose. I do it self-consciously. Or maybe I dig in my ear a lot. I got a problem of pulling my ear, and I dig in my ear a lot when I get nervous. Or maybe I pick my teeth. When I get nervous, I bite my fingers and pick my teeth. So when you see me do that, you start critiquing me. And then you don't just stop there. You'll go to the mosque and you'll say, hey, you know, I met Sister Laila. She seemed like a good sister, but she got a problem, man. She's always digging in her ears. She's always digging in her nose. She's always picking at her teeth. And I advised her. I gave her some advice. I told her to stop digging in her nose, stop picking in her teeth. I gave her some nasiha. That's not nasiha. That's not advice. That's not encouragement. That's demeaning. That's critique. Well, I want to share this hadith with you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will cover on the day of judgment the defects and the faults of the one who covers up the defects and the faults of others in this world. So while you're running around meeting new Muslims, following them around, looking for their defects, looking for their faults, and then running up to them, telling them, I want to give you some defects, some nasiha. You shouldn't pick your teeth. I want to give you some nasiha. You shouldn't yell at your kids. I want to give you some nasiha. You shouldn't walk so fast. I want to give you some nasiha. You shouldn't do this. And then you go around another Muslim and say, I had to give some nasiha to brother so-and-so. He picks his lips. He walks too fast. You know, you go and share the defects of another Muslim to others. Guess what? Allah is going to expose all of your defects to everybody else on the day of judgment. Because, see, Allah knows his creation better than we know ourselves. Allah knew when he created Adam that Adam's offspring would end up taking the word nasiha and twisting it around to mean to put your opinion about people and throw it up in their faces as criticism. Allah knew that when he created us, that we would take advice to mean critique. And we would go around criticizing and looking for the faults of each other and sharing each other's faults with one another, turning people against each other like we see today. So when I meet a sister who never met me before, doesn't know anything about me, she'll think, oh, that's the lady that I heard digs in her teeth, pulls her ears, always digging in her ear, that sister so-and-so had to give nasiha to because she yells at her kids, because she walks too fast, because she does this, because she does that. That's not how we're supposed to be. That's not Salafi either, guys. We're supposed to hide or cover the defects of each other, not expose the defects of one another. When we meet each other, we're supposed to look to see the good things in each other, not try to find faults and defects. Husbands are doing it with their new wives. You marry a woman on her wedding night, instead of looking to see the good in her, you look at her for the first time and start pointing out her scars and her defects, making her feel belittled. And you say you're giving her nasiha? That's not nasiha. Like the Prophet said, if we don't have anything good to say to a person, don't say anything. Nasiha is supposed to be good. Nasiha is supposed to make you feel good and encourage. It's not supposed to be evil. Okay? Let's look at this next hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, every one of my followers will be forgiven except for those who openly expose their wrongdoings. An example of this is a man who commits a sin at night, which Allah has covered for him. But in the morning, he goes to the people and says, guess what? I committed such and such a sin last night. When the person nobody would have even known that he did it. So he tears down the covering that Allah had put up for him during the night. Allah won't forgive a person that does that. How many of us do that? We see this a lot. How many of us will go around our Muslim brothers and our Muslim sisters and confess the sins we committed in private when nobody would have even known we did those things? Whatever bad things you do in private that Allah kept hidden, what are you confessing to others for? That's not Islam. That may be Christianity, but that is not Islam. Whatever Allah keeps hidden, that's between you and Allah. And by the way, there's another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah is more apt to forgive you of the sins you do in private that you keep between him and yourself than he is to forgive the sins that you do in private and go around boasting to the people about. So why would you go and confess to people what you did that Allah kept between just you and him? This is an oxymoron. Why do that? Too many of us go around confessing to others when we shouldn't do that. Let's look at the next hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a slave commits fornication, and this fact of fornication has become evident, she must be given the punishment of 50 lashes without hurling, bad words at her. If she does it again, she must be given the punishment, but she should not be again, cursed and all of that. If she does it a third time, then her owner should sell her, even for a rope or something worthless. Now, this is the hadith that a brother sent me an email about. He said, Sister Laila, why is it that the slave gets less punishment than a free person? And I had to explain to him that, first of all, I want everyone to remember that slavery existed in the world before Islam, before the Prophet Muhammad received the call to prophethood. Slavery was not just practiced by the Arabs. Slavery was practiced by all human beings living on earth at that time. The Vikings, the Romans, the Greeks, the Persians, the English. Slavery existed in the 6th century everywhere on earth. It was part of the world back then. And just to let you guys know, the Arabs were the first people to abolish slavery. Slavery was abolished under the Caliphate of Umar, radiyallahu anha. The Muslims were the first. The Arabs were the first people to abolish slavery. But slavery existed before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just to let y'all know, that was part of the world back then. All right. And why did the slave get less punishment? Just like a child. When a child commits a sin, who gets punished? The parents. Because back in those days, the slave was owned by its owner. Okay, and the owner was responsible for the slave. Okay, but as you can see, the laws and rules that Allah sent down regarding slavery were sent down, which ended up abolishing slavery. Because as you can see, the third time she was to be sold or let go. Okay. But back in those days, slaves were the property of their owner. So that's why everything was half with them. They weren't free. But Islam gave slaves rights that they didn't have anywhere else in the world back then. Slaves had rights, as you can see here. The rights were, as you can see here, and the third time to be sold. They didn't have these rights at other parts of the world. And Allah knows best. Okay. Let's look at the next hadith. A man who had drank wine was brought before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked the companions to beat him because he had gotten drunk. That's when Allah has sent down the verses of the Quran forbidding alcohol and intoxicants. So the companions beat him, some with their hands, some with their garments, and some with their shoes. And when he left, some of the people said, "May Allah disgrace you," or "May Allah curse you." And that's when the Prophet said, "No, don't say that. Don't say that. Because when you say, 'May Allah curse you,' or 'May Allah disgrace you,' all you're doing is helping the devil against him. And that's not what we do as Muslims. We don't help Shaitan win the battle against you. When you curse another Muslim, guys, you're giving leverage to the Shaitan. We're supposed to help our brothers and help our sisters in Islam. We're not supposed to throw each other into the belly of Shaitan. That's why we have to be careful cursing another Muslim. Remember, guys, anyone who declares La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, three things are sacred and off limits: their life, their honor, their property. This is why you can never call another Muslim a kafir. This is why you can never call another Muslim a hypocrite, because a hypocrite is a kafir. This is why you can never curse another Muslim, because you're cursing them, you're damning them to hell. Their life is sacred. Okay? So the Prophet said, don't say that. Even if they commit a sin, you don't curse them. No matter how angry you get at another Muslim, no matter how angry you get at your husband, no matter how angry you get at your wife, your children, you never say, "May Allah curse you, may Allah disgrace you." Because you're turning your kid over to Shaitan. You're turning your wife over to Shaitan. My life is sacred. You're supposed to help your brothers, help your sister in Islam. Remember, el-wala wal-bara. Why is it that we have a high apostasy rate? Ask yourself, how many Muslims have you cursed in your lifetime? Whenever you curse another Muslim, that curse goes up to the heavens. Then it goes to the right. Then it goes to the left. And if that person is not deserving of that curse, it comes back down to the earth upon you. And if you ain't deserving of it, it's going to hit your children or your grandchildren. And that's why we have kids. We raise them Muslim, but they turn out to be non-practicing. or our grandkids come out non-practicing. How many Muslims have you killed with your tongue? How many Muslims have you cursed out of anger? And you can't take it back. Curse you, disgrace you. How many Muslims have you called kafir? How many Muslims have you made takfir against? That's the big thing today, takfir. Well, it came back down on you and it hit your kid. It hit your grandkids. That's why we have these non-practicing Muslims today. Again, the Kafirs call it karma. We say Allah will take his right out on you or one of yours. Allah is adl. He's just. Be careful of the tongue, guys. So even if a person commits fornication, a person commits adultery, that doesn't make him a kafir. So don't curse him and don't call him a kafir. Even if a person smokes weed, he ain't a kafir. Even if a Muslim is not practicing Islam, you don't call him a kafir. You don't say, may Allah curse you. Unless they deny that la ilaha illallah. Unless they deny it. They deny Islam. They still a Muslim unless they deny it. Y'all understand that? That's why your kids ain't practicing. That's why you ain't. Help each other in goodness. Don't help the devil against each other. And that's where we are today. This is a Bukhari hadith. This is why we are in the state that we're in today. All that takfir. Let's look at the next hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a Muslim is a brother of another Muslim. He doesn't wrong him, nor does he turn him over to another person who does him wrong. If anyone fulfills his brother's need, Allah will fulfill your needs. If a person removes a distress from another Muslim, Allah will remove a distress from you on a day of judgment. And if anyone covers up the defects of another Muslim, Allah will cover up yours on the day of judgment. All of us will have to stand before Allah on the day of judgment, everything exposed. Every human being, all of us will stand before Allah with all our deeds exposed. You don't want the people to see what bad things you did. You don't want nobody to see those private messages you made, huh? A lot of y'all got some messaging y'all been doing. Oh yeah, you married brothers. You dour brothers with 2, 3, 4 hit the door wives. Y'all messaging 20 women. Love, love, love. Probably got some videos too. Y'all got sex videos out there? Y'all don't want nobody to see those sex videos, huh? Well, guess what? You don't want nobody to see what y'all was doing. You better cover up the sins of others so Allah won't show the filthy stuff y'all was doing on TikTok. Because I'm telling y'all know y'all got some sick stuff y'all doing. Sisters and brothers. How many of you women taking your hijabs off of these men? Oh, yeah. Think about these hadiths. You want the world to see what you was doing. And it will be shown. You ain't married. And you are married. Hanky panky is really stanky. Think about these hadiths. Also, the Prophet said, he who removes from a believer one of his difficulties in this world, Allah will remove one of his on the day of judgment. And he who finds relief from a hard-pressed person. The brothers here laughing. They said, yeah, I need to go do some repenting. The brothers here are crazy. Yeah, y'all know what y'all doing. The sisters too. Yeah, you sisters, they laughing too. But you know, there's humor, but you sisters know what y'all doing too. Uh-huh. Oh, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he who removes from a believer one of his difficulties in this world, Allah will remove one of his difficulties on the day of judgment. And he who finds relief from a hard-pressed person, Allah will make things easy for him on the day of judgment. And he who covers the faults and sins of a Muslim, Allah will cover up his faults and sins in this world and the hereafter. You see that? Allah supports his servant as long as the servant is supportive of his brother. And he who walks the path in search of knowledge, Allah will make that path easy, which will lead to paradise for him. And the people who gather in the house of Allah, not the streets of Times Square, but the people who gather in the houses of Allah, reciting the book of Allah, teaching it and teaching, there will descend upon them the tranquility and mercy from Allah. The angels will gather around them, and Allah will mention them in the presence of those close to him. And he who lags in doing good deeds, his noble lineage will not make him go ahead. Subhanallah. The virtues of you brothers going to the mosque to pray, going to the mosque at Fajr to listen to the khutbah that the imam gives after the Fajr prayer. It's only 10 or 15 minutes. The imam usually gives a 10 or 15-minute khutbah after Fajr. The angels will surround you, make dua for you, and mercy will descend upon you. You'll be under the protection of Allah for the day. Hello, brothers. That ain't Times Square. That's the house of Allah. Okay? Get to the mosque after Fajr, brothers. Get to the mosque after Isha, when the imam is given a short khutbah after each Isha, after Maghrib. Get to the mosque to seek knowledge. The mosque are the houses of Allah, not Times Square. Allah hates the marketplace. He hates the streets. The houses of Allah are the mosque. Subhanallah. So these are the hadiths that I wanted to go over today from this wonderful book, Riyadhus Saliheen. And these were all hadiths taken from Bukhari and Muslim. That's why I'm telling you, sisters and brothers too, make sure that you order the entire collection of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. That's the source of all these hadiths that Imam Nawawi put in this little this book of his, the book of miscellaneous topics. So are there any questions or comments? And I want y'all to remember, nasiha means to give advice when asked. You don't offer advice unless somebody asks for it. What you guys are doing is giving your opinion. Don't nobody need to hear your opinion. And your opinion is critique. We don't need to hear your criticism. Okay, advice is good. It's good words. It's words of encouragement to pick you up, to make you feel good. It's not criticism to tear you down. to make you feel bad. Okay? The companions didn't give advice unless it was asked for. You read the hadiths, they would come to the prophet and say, "Oh, prophet of Allah, give me some advice that I can only get from you." You don't see the prophet coming to them and saying, "Let me give you some advice." No, you see them saying, "Oh, prophet of Allah, give me some advice that I can only get from you. Give me some advice." They were asking him. He wasn't going around saying, "Let me give you some advice. Your nose is big. Let me give you some advice. You stink. Let me give you some advice. I don't like your voice. Let me give you some advice. You going to hell. Let me give you some advice." You don't see that. That's not advice. That's criticism. You don't see the prophet criticizing people, tearing them down. Critique is not advice. There's a difference. They're opposites. Okay? All right. Any questions?
So Laila, I have a question.
Yes.
So basically on the part of covering up a person's faults.
Defects is a better word.
Defect.
Let's say defect.
Okay.
That's why I say the better word, because just like we don't understand the difference between criticism and advice, we don't understand faults. The better English word is defect. That's why I said digging in my ear, digging in my nose. Defect. The defects of a person. When you read that Arabic word in food, the fusha, as Sheikh Morsi said, you look at the, see, you got to know that fusha. The better word, the Arabic word, when you look at the meaning, it means defects of a person. Because the other hadith says, look to see the good in each other. This one is saying, don't look to find the defects. Whoever covers the defects. My defect is my big nose. Because what happened is, one day, let me give y'all the story behind. That's why you have to know the history. One day, this is Bukhari, all these hadiths, you got to know how the science of connectivity, each one of those hadiths connect. One day, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was visited by one of the companions. The companion said, "O Prophet of Allah, so-and-so, as we women were washing our clothes, so-and-so," he was a eunuch, he was standing outside talking about one of the women. He was describing her, the defects of her body. And he was talking about how she had different layers of her stomach. He was describing to the men the different layers of her stomach. The prophet got angry. So he led the people in salat. And that's when he said, it was brought to my attention that you people like to gather together and talk about the defects of each other. He said, whoever hides or covers the defects of his brother in Islam, Allah will cover your defects. So that word, the better word is defect instead of fault, because when we should carry a dictionary, because fault is a synonym for defect. But in our mind is programmed to mean sin, bad thing. Oh, he smoked reefer. We're programmed to think that way in 2025. So that's why when I go over these hadiths, I use the word defect. Because when I say defect, your brain is programmed to think, oh, she got a big nose, or oh, she picks her lip, or oh, she got big thighs, or oh, she's got had a C-section. So the better word to use in English instead of fault is defect. And when you use a dictionary, they're synonyms of each other. They mean the same thing. But in 2025, y'all can relate better to defect because the English is always changing with the time. Y'all understand?
Alhamdulillah, this was such an important reminder. It's always, all these classes are, of course, mashallah. So this doesn't apply to those. I know you said you explained defects. I understand that. That doesn't apply to people who are doing sins or
that's a different. No, these hadiths are talking about defects because when it comes to sins, there's a different criteria and a different role we take for that.
Okay.
That's a different Islamic Sharia law for all that. So that's why we have to
use that word so much.
That's what I'm saying. You know, that's why we have to be careful with the language. Yeah. Like Sheikh Morsi says, the language is everything. We don't speak Arabic. But for the people that speak the Fusha, Arabic is so different than English. And even Arabs don't speak Fusha. Fusha is such a beautiful language. One Arabic word can mean 100 different things depending on how it's used in a sentence. And when you read these hadiths in the Fusha, you know what they mean depending on how they're used. But when we find a person committing a sin, that's a whole different process that we do Islamically. Like, for example, if I see somebody committing fornication, what do? What's the process for that? Because that's a sin. That's not a defect. A defect or a fault. If I see a person committing fornication, is fornication a fault? We could even use the word fault. If you're looking up the word fault in English, fault doesn't mean sin. Fault does not mean sin in the dictionary. But see, the English language is tore up in America. We speak hip hop. If I saw a person committing fornication, is that a fault or is that a sin? Is fornication a sin? Wait a minute. I want y'all to just give me the answer. And don't think like P. Diddy. Is fornication a sin or a fault?
A sin.
It's a sin. So what does Islam teach us to do if we see somebody committing fornication, which is a sin?
I'm supposed to have the witnesses.
Okay, what does Islam teach us to do? Just answer the question. What does Islam teach you to do if you see somebody committing fornication? Anybody know? If I saw somebody committing fornication,
speak out.
No. What does Islam teach us to do if I saw somebody committing fornication and I wanted to do something about it? What does the law of Islam teach us? That's a different procedure. And y'all don't even know. Anybody know? What does Islam teach you to do? If I was walking down the street and I saw two people committing fornication and I wanted to do something about it, what does Islam teach us to do? What's the procedure? No Muslim here knows?
The procedure will be the same as
just tell me what it is. No, just tell me what it is.
Okay. You can't stop it with your hands.
No, that ain't the procedure.
Okay.
What do you do? Islam teaches if I saw two people committing fornication and I wanted to do something about it, I have to run and find 4 male witnesses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't report nobody. Report them. That's not Islam, Amina. That's what you do in America. What is the law of Islam? In Islam, if I saw 2 people having sex and I wanted to do something about it, I have to go and find 4 male witnesses or 8 women. That's the law in Islam. So tell me, do these hadiths apply to fornication?
No.
No. So that's how you know that these hadiths ain't talking about no sins. These hadiths are talking about what? Defects or faults. Faults, get a dictionary. Fault means defects. We ain't talking about sins. No, there's no admonition in Islamic law, Sister Carol. We don't admonish in Islamic law for sins. No. So
I'm so grateful because I've been hearing this hadith misapplied like my entire life. Like you hear people saying for sins, and it's
most everything y'all learn is misapplied. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's the English is wrong and the application too.
The English is correct. It's just that y'all don't speak English. What do they say? Americans haven't spoken English in centuries.
No, I mean, I've heard people say, oh, this person's stealing, or this person is a thief, or this person smokes.
What does Islam teach you to do if a person steals? If you see somebody stealing, what are you supposed to do?
I think you need witnesses for those too, right? To cut off their hands in a court, whatever, right? Like it has
y'all
to be,
need to learn how to answer these questions right. If I saw somebody stealing and I wanted to do something about it, what am I supposed to do? In Islam.
If you can say stop with your hand.
That don't apply. Y'all need to stop with that enjoining the good stuff. Okay. That enjoining good, forbidding evil applies in a non-Islamic situation. Y'all are asking me about Sharia now. This is Sharia law. Okay. That's America. You're asking. These hadiths were revealed during the Prophet Muhammad's time. Was he living in America? Y'all got to think. This is Sharia. If somebody saw somebody stealing, they get a witness. Look what he doing, Umar. They get witnesses. Enjoining good, forbidding evil, that's what we do living here in America, because this ain't no Islamic state. These hadiths that we're talking about are dealing with Islamic state. These are laws of Sharia. These are Prophet Muhammad established an Islamic state. Y'all got to know the difference of where y'all live and how to apply. When y'all reading these hadiths, when Allah didn't send this stuff down to Americans, that's how y'all got to think better.
That's why we asking Sister Laila, because I was definitely confused on there. Well, I only could speak for me, but at the same time, that's what I was confused at. So that's
I'm talking about when you're trying to understand the meaning of a hadith. First of all, when you reading a hadith, y'all should know that ain't talking about no America. So the Prophet didn't live in America. He established an Islamic state. So that should tell you when this is talking about fornication. So in his time, they wasn't going around they live in a Sharia. So of course this ain't talking about the sin, because they'd have to go get witnesses. This is talking about defects of a person, not sins. That's why I tell y'all to carry a Webster's, because look up the meaning of the word fault. Fault doesn't mean sin. That's why I try to tell y'all to use a dictionary, because it's all about just understanding the meaning of these words. And a lot of times they're, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm getting ready to, I can't screen share. Well, if you go to dictionary.com, what is the meaning of the word fault? F-A-U-L-T. Fault means an unattractive or unsatisfactory feature, especially in a piece of work or in a person's character. You see what fault means? the way a person looks. That's why I said picking the nose. Or to criticize a person's mistakes. It has nothing to do with sins. You know what I'm saying? A person's, oh, because she makes mistakes, she stutters, she picks her nose, or she has a big nose, or she has, like the man was doing, she has layers of her stomach, or, you know, that's what fault means. But since you don't understand fault, I use the word defect. Defect, which is a synonym. If you look up synonyms, go to dictionary.com. That's why I tell you I'll carry a dictionary. Synonyms of the word fault. A fault. You know, you see defects, you know, and things like that. So you guys should see that use a dictionary. You know, synonyms, you know, of fault. Fault means the way a person looks. So you could use the word fault. It doesn't mean sin. I don't know, but the language has become so hip-topped. You know what I mean?
You know, it's really interesting that when you cover each other's faults, that actually kind of helps prevent backbiting too.
It does.
Because people be like, oh, she talks with her mouth open.
There you go.
She got a snotty nose. Or
right.
And it's like you wouldn't like that person to say that about you. So that goes into another sin too, which is major.
Right.
So, alhamdulillah.
That's what faults
Allah's
are.
wisdom.
So yeah, so that's when you read those hadiths about covering each other's faults, it's talking about, you know, the way we look, because that's what happened. You know, that man who was a eunuch, he was describing this woman and how she looked without her clothes on. You know, how big her back was and how big her thighs were. And the prophet said, you don't do that. You have to cover the faults of each other. You don't describe how somebody looked like that. You know, you cover up the defects of another Muslim, or that person there, she coughs too much, or, you know, he's always, you know, he got allergies and sneezes, and, you know, we don't expose that stuff. Okay, here's a question. If a Muslim is buried in the sea, will they be held accountable? Sister Amina, Allah doesn't hold you accountable for what you didn't do. If a person dies on a ship, they can't bury you. They have no choice but to throw you over into the sea. So that's permissible in Islam. If you die on a ship and there's no other choice but to throw you over into the ocean, then that's permissible in Islam. A person never knows where they're going to be buried at. It's permissible to bury a person in the sea if they die on a ship and ain't nowhere else to bury them. So nothing's wrong with that. Yeah, y'all understand that hadith now? Faults means it's referring to our features and character.
Yeah.
You know, she's forgetful. She stutters. She's forgetful. You know, she forgets stuff. Just our character and our features, you know, and stuff like that.
I think I remember you going over that a long time ago when you was talking about a wooden leg and all that. But
yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
I remember.
Sins are different. No, that's no. We don't. We speak out against sins. That's something totally. We don't sit there and cover up no sins. You know, we do enjoin the good and forbid the evil, but there's a process to that. You know, even when it comes to sins, we have to have proof. We don't accuse people without proof. Islam teaches us for every sin, there has to be proof. There has to be witnesses and proof. In America, we can't prove stuff, we go to court. But in a Muslim country, we got to gather proof. You know what I mean? If you catch your wife committing adultery, you got to go hold your temper. Like the prophet told that man. Remember that hadith? The man came home, he caught his wife having sex with the neighbor, he killed her, and he killed the neighbor. And then he asked the prophet said, why did you kill him? He said, I caught him. What was I supposed to do? He said, yeah, you should have went and got the proof first, then killed him. Then brought him to me and then we had us kill him. You got to control your anger and go get the proof. You know?
So even now, as far as and they catch them on video camera or something, that still don't mean anything, huh?
Yeah, that's different. They use camera now. Yeah, we have modern technology counts. Yeah, that would count now. In fact, that's what Saudi Arabia does. That's why they put cameras in the mosque, because people was using the mosque, the Prophet's mosque, to meet and have sex and sell drugs. So that's why they put cameras in the Prophet's mosque now to catch people. So yeah, the cameras count now. But back in the Prophet's day, they didn't have cameras. They had to go get the witnesses.
I remember growing up, people would do like bad stuff. I didn't know what it was as a child, but they had public lashings, and people would just admit to doing certain things so they can get that punishment because they didn't want to get it in the next life. And I remember public lashings, like people from different things like that, lewd stuff or whatever, and they would straight up gather the community to watch them get beat.
Well, you know that's
Back in the
illegal.
day.
That's
That was the
illegal.
80s in Brooklyn. No.
Yeah, but
I know the story.
that's illegal in America.
Is that the one, like some of the stuff you're talking about though, with the?
Yeah, but that's illegal. That was the Dar Islam back in the day, and they had to stop that because they could go to jail for that in America.
They didn't do it against people's will, from what I remember. It's
But
like,
still, it's
you have to admit
illegal.
that.
It's illegal. That's why they had to stop that. Yeah, America don't allow that. Ain't no corporal punishment in America. It's against the Constitution. Yeah, but I remember that back in the day. But it was illegal. That's why they stopped it. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions or comments, guys? Just to let y'all know, Dr. Jamali is going to be doing the prayer class on Wednesdays to finish up that prayer class. A lot of people are asking about it. I had people here ask about it too. It'll be on Wednesday at 7. I know, and it's I will figure out my 6 o'clock class. I don't know, because I got these videos still. Yes, and this Friday we're going to be doing what happens in the grave. I'll put that video out tomorrow. I know I was supposed to put it out today, but I'm giving Geechee another day. She needs to tomorrow to get the stuff out tomorrow, Insha'Allah, for Geechee. And by the way, guys, please, the first is in 3 days. We need donations. We need $500. $500 for the first of the month. Y'all know that. We got all the website expenses coming out. We need more than 500 really, but $500 for the first of the month to pay for the streaming program and all that other stuff. Please, guys, we need your donations. Y'all don't want to log in here and no SunnahFollowers no more. So please support us, Inshallah. Yeah, tomorrow is what, Tuesday? Tomorrow we have my 6 o'clock, my 6:30 diluting El Wala Wal Barar. And we have my 9:30 class, the Maqasidic Tafsir. Yeah, that's tomorrow, Inshallah. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to log out for now. Subhanakala, please, we need those donations. Support us, please. All right. Subhanakala huma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. You're welcome, sister. She said the same thing you did about those ID. Y'all really didn't know what the word fault mean? Come on, people. You know, I went to school and got a degree in English. What do they teach y'all in school today?
That's because people are always twisting it, Sister Laila.
Y'all didn't. They typing the same thing. They didn't know what fault meant.
Meaning, that's what I was talking about. Like, people would be like, oh, cover my sins. They'd be like, that's not
how y'all got to stop replacing them words. Look at I read it out of dictionary. Y'all see it on the internet? That was just dictionary.com. Webster probably got even a better answer. Yeah, it don't mean no sin. Oh, God. What these kids are learning today in school is just bad. We into the hip-hop urban slang, huh? Oh. Fault. We could just stick with fault instead of defect. I use defect to make it easier, but we could have stayed with fault. Yeah. Sheikh Morsi told me to make them words simpler. I'm glad I talked
You're
to
still
him.
in Bigo, Sister Layla.
Yeah, I'm still on here too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I'm reading what she typed. Yeah. The sister, yeah, Emma too. Yeah, that's just buy you a pocket dictionary. Yeah, I encourage all y'all to get a pocket dictionary. Just look it up in the dictionary. But I'm gonna tell y'all, but the same problem that you guys having, Arabs are just as bad. They don't speak Arabic, they speak slang. They don't speak Fusha. They have to read the English too. And they don't understand these hadiths either. Don't get it twisted. Yep. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum, inshallah.